But yeah, there is random orders that come in from the States, and I have no idea how on earth they find it, but it just kind of shows the power of the world right now and how easily accessible everyone is.
Hello and welcome to Starting Small. My name is Nagle, and what you're about to hear is a resilient story to an entrepreneur's journey over the brand that we know and consume today. At Starting Small, I believe that everyone has a story to tell under one philosophy. Everyone starts small. Even these founders have once started where you are, in their parents' kitchen, basement, out of a wagon, and many more. At Starting Small, we discuss the strategies used, the obstacles overcome, and the successes of an entrepreneur's journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Starting Small, and make sure to leave a review to let us know how you enjoyed it. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today, I'm joined by Louie Collins of 5 by Flynn. Louie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's happy to be here.
Yeah, of course. To give the listeners reference, Louie's out of Australia, so this interview is going to be very exciting. First of all, Louie, where did you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
So I grew up and I actually still live kind of nearby in a town called Bronte. So it's a beach suburb, just not many people would probably know where that is in America, but it's just south of Bondi. So it's 2 beaches down. Grew up around there. I'm actually the oldest of 6 kids. So a lot of siblings, and all of them are very creative. And me being the oldest, I look at them and like they're all kind of doing their different things and different forms of art and all that stuff. So yeah, I grew up around there, went to school. I actually boarded when I went to high school. So just a bit over the bridge in a place called Hunters Hill. Mm-hmm. And then kind of came back after that, took a year off, and then went to university, studied business, a Bachelor of Business at the University of Technology. Mm-hmm. And I think I really enjoyed my first couple of years there, but I think towards the end I was kind of, I don't know, I think I found jobs that I was working at. I was working part-time. I was kind of learning more in that I was at uni, which there's nothing against, and I don't have anything against university, but I just think the way that I learned was through, actually applying myself and trying to meet new people and learning off other people. I think that's still the best way that I learned. So finished university, and kind of like in the last year, I started up the business, and then, it's kind of grown from there. And I've always kind of had this, I think since I was maybe when I left school, I've always wanted to own something and run my own business and think of my ideas. And that's kind of my upbringing.
For sure. So yeah, as you mentioned, it sounds like you had a very entrepreneurial mindset, especially throughout your journey and progressing to 5 by Flynn today. I'm curious, what was your family background like? What did your parents do? And was there any inspiration towards you to become an entrepreneur and pursue that venture as well?
So I think my parents are, and the older I get, the more I see of it, how supportive they are. And I think, so my dad's actually a builder, and then my mum, she was a graphic designer, and she is looking after some of the Indigenous girls now at a school, so helping them with their art and kind of stuff like that. And I think just they've really been supportive of it. Whatever I want to do, they're just like, you can go do it and we'll support you to do it. Like, they've never kind of like guided me into doing one certain thing. And it even, so with me or with my 5 siblings, we actually all went to different high schools as well, because they just thought we're different people and we've got different attributes and maybe different friends and stuff like that. So yeah, they were always just so supportive of me and my family doing our own thing. And I'm very appreciative of it. So I think from their guidance, that's kind of made me feel more confident in kind of going and doing my own thing and pursuing kind of what I love doing.
For sure. Leading up to 5 by Flynn, I'm curious, what was this time frame like? You're at the university, 5 by Flynn comes. Did this start immediately following graduation, or what does this time period look like for you? Were you working some other jobs?
Yeah, I have to kind of go back in my memory a little bit, but I remember, so when I was 18, I just left school, and I had 2 of my friends who, because I went to boarding school, 2 of my friends lived out of town. So their parents lived out of town, but they wanted to live in Sydney. Mm-hmm. So my parents, they lived at our house for a while. And then when they lived there, we used to have these big parties and whatnot. And I got approached by a few venues around Sydney, and they wanted me to kind of like host the event. So then I ended up starting this company which was an events company when I was like maybe 18, 19. So started doing that for a couple of years. And then that kind of gave me the, I guess the skills and confidence to know that I can do my own thing. But when I was maybe, I think I would have been like 21, I kind of 21, 22. After those events, I was like, I like doing this, but I don't really want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And there was a certain style of shirt. It's called a camp collar shirt. It's like a button down shirt. And I couldn't really find any that I really liked in the Australian market. Mm-hmm. So then I kind of went because I actually had no idea about fashion or anything like that. So I kind of went on a bit of a journey to learn how to make this shirt. And I got the first one made in Sydney as well. So it cost a fair bit of money. But I guess I went through that process when I was about 22 whilst I was just finishing off university. And and it kind of started from there. And I've learned obviously a lot since starting. And I still am learning so much as well, because it's just, even in business, I feel like most businesses have the same ideas. But they're just a different purpose. So it's fun being able to talk to other people and learn off them. And
For sure. I'm curious, in those early stages, you're designing this new shirt. Where did you look for a manufacturer to make this shirt? Were you looking for like the best price, the best developer? And how far did you go? You said you went to Sydney for this production, correct?
Yeah. So my dad was doing this. He was making this building for just someone in Sydney, and they owned a fabric store in a place called Alexandria, which is kind of like a bit of like a fashion hub. A lot of fashion companies have their offices around there. Mm-hmm. So then I went to him and I honestly didn't really know. He just gave me a big list of Sydney, because there isn't that many left in Sydney as in manufacturers. So he just gave me a big list, and I kind of honestly went and just took whatever place would honestly take me.
Yeah.
I think I really wanted to, from the very get-go, I really wanted to make a pretty premium product. And I think I want to position myself, not as a cheap brand. I want people to feel like they want to look after their piece of clothing or look after their shirt that they buy. So, I was definitely trying to look for a good quality manufacturer.
For sure. With the design side of 5 by Flynn, I know you guys take a very minimalistic approach. I'm curious, you said you didn't have any design or apparel expertise prior, but what did you look for when creating that 5 by Flynn design? What aesthetic did you want to present for your first launch?
So for the very first one, I wanted to keep it, like you said, a bit simple. So it was just literally, and that's why it's called 5 by Flynn, because it was one style of shirt, that cam collar button down shirt, but I just did it in 5 different colorways, mainly because I probably didn't have enough money to make anything more than that. I guess the design, it's changed a lot. I think over time, my idea of design changes, and it still changes all the time. So when I first started, it was definitely like I wanted to make these clean, luxury kind of pieces. But then now, for example, for the summer 2022 range, so our summer, but it'd be your winter, that comes out in October, November. Like I'm trying to go for a bit more of like a colorful shirt, and I've brought out a few in the past and they've done well. So it's kind of just, my design kind of evolves as well, and it's kind of learning what the market and what my customer wants and building off that and building around that stuff. So that's kind of my design process and idea at the moment.
Definitely. I'm curious, in those early stages, I know it's still fairly young. When you were launching these first shirts, where did you look for your customers, and what was that demographic you were really hunting for to purchase 5 by Flynn?
As in, where did I look in terms of what they want, or?
Yeah. Like what is your main demographic? Like, what is your customer? Are they there? What's the age range? What's the male and female skew, etc.?
So originally because I wanted to make this piece, which was a bit more luxury and like the price point might be a little bit higher. Originally, so I would have been 22 when it first started. So I originally wanted to be like 25 and up. That's the demographic, because I thought they would have more money and they'd be able to purchase more luxury items. But then I soon came to realize, if you come into the market and you're essentially nobody, aren't going to drop, because it's, to some people that's a fair bit of money to buy a shirt. So I think that I soon found out that people don't want to spend that money. So over time, kind of like what I mentioned before, like my ideas changed over time. And right now, I'd say the demographic is maybe 18 to 26-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's probably the majority of people that buy. But I do want to try and grow that market to hopefully like 18 to 30 or 35. Because like I said, like the older people get, usually the more disposable income they have, and they're willing to purchase nicer products and whatnot. And so yeah, that's kind of the way that I'm approaching it at the moment.
Definitely. So when we were talking before the interview started, I'd like to kind of talk about your international strategy. It's very interesting. You said that you actually get orders that come in international. You don't make money from it, but you still fulfill that order. I'm curious if you could share with the listeners, like what your approach is on that, when you expect to like shift international, and how you're actually fulfilling orders, even if you're not making money now, and why you're doing that. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's always been one of my goals and I see, like that, I don't know if you know the brand Nagle. They're someone that, it's based in New York, and I just see the way that they market and their overseas market. It looks obviously like it's doing quite well. So it's been one of my goals to I'm just trying to find a place which would kind of suit the vibe, and kind of off the top of my head, maybe somewhere in LA might suit it, or depending like kind of what the vibe is, maybe New York or London. Yeah. But yeah, there is random orders that come in from the States, and I have no idea how on earth they find it, but it just kind of shows the power of the world right now and how easily accessible everyone is. And like you mentioned, so because shipping Australia is at the bottom of the world, you don't really make that much money on, depending on how much they buy, you don't really make that much money on each order because of the shipping. So, but I still want to know that that a shirt that someone's bought from Australia or from Five by Flynn is somewhere walking around in. I think someone bought one from Ohio yesterday or something like that. So to me, that's kind of cool, and it kind of shows that if someone else random out there is wearing it in America, hopefully in the future, I'll be able to move over there. But I just really want to focus on right now the east coast of Australia, and focusing on the major cities, Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane, and just kind of getting my market down pat, all my products are right. And then it's kind of like America's a whole nother beast. There's so many markets within markets, and then I can try and go over there and grow the business over there. Because hopefully the idea is that because there's more people, you'd be able to scale the business more. But I just want to make sure I've got all the right structures in place here in Australia and Sydney, and then try and tackle that beast in the future.
For sure. Since being in business now for a couple of years, I'm curious, what would you say is the top seller that you found with your customers today?
As in what, the top selling product?
Top selling product. Yep.
So it would be right now the first product I spoke about, which we first made, that camp collar shirt. Mm-hmm. And I've recently been chatting to people about how to scale the business and where I should be going. And I kind of like sometimes forget, and I have to pull myself up about it in terms of like what the business represents and why people are there. So I know that camp collar shirt in plain or in prints is the best seller, but sometimes I try and do all this other random stuff, and I need to, recently, even yesterday I had a meeting, I need to just pull myself back and focus on that product, because I know that's the best selling product. And then I can build the whole collection and all the other pieces around it.
Yeah.
That's definitely the best selling product. And I'm going to try and put more focus for the next year on making just the best camp collar shirt I possibly can. And then everything else can work around, and the other pieces can work around that. Because sometimes if you try and do too much and you compete against bigger people, and it becomes difficult. So it's just, trying to be unique. And I think that's what makes that piece of clothing the best seller in the collections.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious then, what would you say is the main marketing strategies that work well for the company today, especially for having international orders come in? Like, is it a strong digital presence?
Yeah. So I think we're in a pretty lucky position where when COVID happened, we didn't have any storefronts or anything like that, so we didn't have rent to pay, and I focused all my time on trying to grow this digital presence. Mm-hmm. And right now we're putting money behind Instagram, Facebook. Pinterest actually does really well in terms of more of a visual platform. It's more like, I think that's maybe where I get more of an international audience, because I can market if I want internationally with Pinterest, and it's quite a visual thing for people to see. And if they see something maybe colorful or that looks nice, I might not get a sale from it, but it just brings awareness to the brand. And and I think one of the things, when I mentioned before, that from the get-go, I've always wanted to make sure that the brand looked really professional, and from the get-go. So the marketing campaigns that I try and do, and that's something that I really enjoy doing, is writing the marketing campaigns and choosing the songs for it. I get a lot of inspiration from songs that I listen to, and I kind of like work. It's almost like a bit of a weird way. Like I work backwards, like I create a marketing campaign and then make the clothes after it, which is a bit of a weird way to think. But I think having that strong marketing campaign mixed with a digital kind of marketing presence, I think, that's the way that at least I'm trying to grow the business. I don't know if I'm working or not yet. And then also, when I mentioned before, I started doing events when I was a bit younger. I think events are such a good way to build awareness for the branding, because you can invite people there all for one night. You can get some cool alcohol sponsors, have some fun DJs, and it kind of just focuses everyone on your brand. And you don't have to sell stuff while you're there, but it kind of just makes people think, hopefully in a week's time, if they get hit up with an ad, or if they see it on a bus stop or something like that, that they're going to resonate with that brand more, and maybe buy something in the future.
For sure. Well, I like to conclude each episode with this. If you could share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe something you've learned or regret just in this quick journey, I'm curious, what would that be?
I think the biggest advice would be try and build up as many relationships as you can with people, because personally, I think I've lent on, I think one of my skills is that I'm quite personable with people. And it's definitely helped me along the way, because you're always going to have ups and downs, and it's a bit of a roller coaster. Like there's really high highs and some low lows. So I think getting a network around you that you can bounce ideas off or ask them for advice, because usually if you're going through something, there's someone maybe a few years ahead of you, or 5 or 10 years ahead of you that's already done it. I think building up strong relationships and leaning on them when you need them, and and hopefully they can help you out in the future.
For sure. Well, Louie, thank you so much for joining me. And to the listeners out there, make sure to check out 5 by Flynn at 5byflynn.com.